Hello, good evening, and welcome back. This is the power of victimhood. As teacher and Labour Party activist who was kicked off train for fare dodging before hurling abuse at guard, said arrest was her Rosa Parks moment, the court hears, and we're still waiting on the sentencing. So this lady decided to play the race card as you would expect, because getting on a train, later on, her alleged story was that she bought a ticket through the Northern Rail app on her phone, and the app is known to be a little bit temperamental and unreliable, and therefore was unable to show a ticket when requested. And as we all know, if you can't show a ticket, you either buy a new one, and maybe then you can continue your journey. Otherwise, you buy the single fare to the next station, or £20 fine, whichever is greater, and then have to leave the train. That is the punishment, which is pretty well known and well documented around. The reason that she was picked upon is because she was tailgating through the turnstiles, and a gentleman saw this and thought, yeah, we don't really want to let this person get away with it. After all, despite being a state-run institution, we're trying to remain profitable, and therefore went after her. So there's a definite irony here with a Labour activist not liking a government-run institution. So yeah, there can be problems with the government. Who knew? And yet, would you want a bigger one? Perfect. But of course, she had to bring her race into this, and that is entirely her defence, actually, that I'm black, and that's it. So, Anya Nkoi, who we'll just call Anya from now on, I'm trying to help here, 56, so she should have really known better, seen tailgating Oxford Road Station in Manchester. She swore at train guard before boarding train, which was consequently delayed. Heavily delayed. So then compensation to the other passengers. Good job there. Anya was found guilty of obstructing a train and using threatening behaviour. So they go on to say, with the police asking for details, and you might know, if you're a longer time viewer of my channel, that the police have no right to your name and address unless there is good suspicion that you are committing a crime, and fare dodging is reasonable grounds for suspicion that you are committing a crime, and that is what she was doing, given you got the witness saying she was tailgating somebody through the turnstiles. So that is reason enough. Seeing as she then failed to provide her name and address, that then was enough to be a arrestable offence. So let's look at the story. An English teacher and Labour Party activist who was kicked off a train for fare dodging before hurling abuse at a station guard said the arrest was her Rosa Parks moment, a court heard. Anya was spotted tailgating another commuter through ticket barriers at Oxford Road Station in Manchester in July 2019. And that is just how long the legal system takes. It's ridiculous. It's like, yeah, 2 years later. Okay, cool. We're ready for you. What do you want to say? The activist, who also teaches drama at Trinity High School in Hume, was stopped by Northern Rail official Stephen MacDonald, who asked the woman if she had a valid ticket. I think there's a very disturbing part that you could have outspoken activists being part of the student body. There really is a definite problem there. And the same for both sides. I mean, obviously I would support a more ardent, small c conservative being a teacher and being down to personal responsibility. But nonetheless, there is a definite problem here, because, let's say then, as a Labour activist, what is she then going to be teaching the children? Well, she is going to be saying that the black people are superior, and that the white people should feel bad and shouldn't apply for anything because of their innate white privilege, and the black people don't need to apply themselves because the only reason they're not achieving is because of the colour of their skin. Which is all utter bullshit, of course. They still have quotas and things given to them on the basis of skin colour. But nonetheless, that is the kind of thing that you would expect. Is this helping any of the students? No, not at all. It is denigrating the white students for thinking that they don't deserve anything that they actually earn and achieve. And it is disempowering the black students, who then think that there's nothing they can do to achieve stuff, and instead should be a victim in perpetuity. There we are. Forever. Okay, go with that. That they should just be a victim forever and play those victimhood narratives. And she seems to have bought into it herself, given her behaviour here. And let's say, 56 years of age, she should really know better. Her obscenities that we got here say, are you taking the fucking piss before telling him you're a fucking dickhead? and walking away. Bolton Magistrates Court. Heard. She then boarded the train, which was consequently delayed by an hour, and anything more than half an hour enables the other passengers to compensation, while British Transport Police were called out to escort Anya away from the scene. She was arrested after she refused to give her name, the court heard. She refuses that the swearing. She said, she said some inane mutterings under her breath, which don't make any sense and put her in no place to be a teacher, but nonetheless, there we go. Oh, sorry, the sentencing is here. She was fined £180 and ordered to pay £50 compensation to McDonald. Now there's no A in his name, okay. Alongside £400 in court costs. So, definitely quite pricey, and that's just as well. I think we're all pleased with that there is some kind of retribution in order here, as there quite rightly should be. So McDonald told the hearing, I noticed the customer had tailgated and caught my eye. I noticed her truffle shuffle through the barriers and I did not see a valid ticket, so I asked her for her ticket. And, lo and behold, she said she has it on her phone, which she showed me, but she did not have a valid ticket on the phone. I handed her the phone back to her and said, you need to buy a ticket. But she then said, are you taking the fucking piss? I said, can you please stop swearing? But she started walking away and I was following her. He then contacted a supervisor to report the interaction, but lost sight of her, who had boarded the train. His colleague Tim Walter said, I heard the indecent language of her, calling him a fucking dickhead. So you've got witness testimony there, and as you'll know, in England, especially in metropolitan areas like London and Manchester, that there are going to be a heck of a load of CCTV cameras and footage. Not that will record audio, but nonetheless, you can get a feel for how somebody is interacting, if they're being aggressive or if they're being quite passive. So, to quote, Stephen kept saying, you do not have a ticket, you need to come back, but she continued to walk towards the train. I spoke to her when she was on the train and told her she needed to get off, but I got no response. Then she said she had a ticket, and she was not coming off, but never showed me a ticket. Okay, so quite rightly, PC Damien Stansfield of British Transport Police added, we politely asked the lady to step off the train, but she refused. We then tried to persuade her for 5 minutes, and we were successful after that time. Even better, that they say that we arranged for a female police officer to attend to the scene. We ordered for a female police officer to help in the situation. We were forced to make the arrest at the time because she refused to give her name and address. So, I mean, it is kind of trying to give her the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, cool, you might hear the patriarchy. How about we get a woman here? Are you able to talk to her instead? Is that going to make a difference to your deranged psychobabble? But apparently not. And then, of course, she was upset and frustrated and started crying, as you'd expect, to go, oh my god, what I've been taught is a lie, and the real world isn't like this. Yeah, and maybe you've been lying to the children in your classes for so long, as well. Who would have thought? So she told the hearing that she never said he was taking the piss, adding, she said under my breath, oh my god, this man is think, which I presume means thick then, but I never called him a fucking dickhead. I'm sure I'm not the first person to have a problem with Northern Rail and their app. Yes, cast blame on other people. Surely, like if you're in that situation as well, you would say, well, yeah, I have it on my phone, and then you might have to get off the train and say, okay, cool, well, if I can prove to you that this is correct, and now you've delayed me for no good reason, then I'm expecting a refund for the journey. That kind of thing. You can go down that route if you wish. Or you can say, okay, fine, I will buy another ticket, but again, I expect to be refunded this ticket once I can prove to you that I did actually have a valid ticket for the journey. You know, either one of those things, I would have thought that is what any sane, rational person would have done. Like, there is actually an easy fix to this. But, no, because she said she was in a hurry. As she says, the train I was catching was leaving at 3:25pm, and I was in a hurry to catch that train. I felt violated like Rosa Parks, and I felt I was reenacting that moment. Yeah, this isn't a white man trying to take a seat and you're not moving because you're not at the back of the train. Not that at all. It's because you broke the law. As in, you were offered the same treatment as every other passenger and instead thought that you were above the law and should be given special privileges. And then reality came down and said, no. Despite our facade of equality and actually favouring black people and women, especially women of colour, in this instance, the law is going to be applied equally. What is your defence? And it was, it's your fault. And that was essentially it. So the main takeaway from this, I think, to me, is the great concern I have, knowing that this lady is a teacher, not too far from myself as it happens, but knowing that there's a labour activist who is this far gone, and I think that no amount of rehabilitation is really going to help her here. You're going to have to get a 12-step process or something like that to try and help her to get out of this rut that she's put herself in. But at 56 years of age, I think it's a little too late for her to take personal responsibility, because the burning of the deadwood would just take her out completely, and she's not willing to go through that because she doesn't think that she can rise again from the ashes, and therefore is not willing to realise that she's at her current point in her life because it is her decisions and her fault, and she's the one to blame, and also give credit to for where she is currently in life. I don't think she will ever be ready for that realisation, because it would just take her out if she were to actually acknowledge that and internalise it. But the problem is that it's that thought process that is then being instilled into other impressionable minds of students, and that is something that you really have to get rid of. I'm not saying you don't have bad luck, of course you do, but the idea that whatever happens to you is somebody else's fault is a paralysing mentality to have, and will also mean that you can never quite feel the sense of accomplishment for anything that you've achieved. And that's the big issue here, that it's relying on other people to do things for you, and then you can never have that sense of accomplishment for what you've actually earned. And yet that's what's being taught in schools, by this lady at least, I would hazard a guess. So maybe, just maybe, the schools need to do a better vetting process. And how many of you, as I know some of you do have children, would be happy to know that your children are being taught by a political activist, especially if it's something which isn't political at all? Obviously, there are different sides, and there's one that's more freedom-loving and would actually hear people out, as the right-wing tend to do compared to the left-wing, who are more dogmatic. But nonetheless, I wouldn't be that impressed to hear that my children were being taught by a political activist. By all means, they have their own opinions, and I'm all for the free debate in the classroom, especially if it is something that is relevant to the course. But when you know that their philosophies are different and this paralysing, the school definitely needs to do a better job in ensuring that the other teachers at the school are not like this. And so much so that they should be able to foster a environment which means that anybody who is like this does not feel welcome and chooses on their own volition to leave, because that is not what is best for the children. So please, as you would say, fuck off. But that's it for me, so let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think we're going to see a few more of these? And with the pendulum oscillating from side to side, with people getting sick of playing the race card too much? And if we see more people like this, thankfully the law will apply in this instance, but we know far too many examples where it isn't. Though if we see that, they're going to say, yeah, we don't really care, we're no longer going to give you the benefit of the doubt, we're no longer going to give you the presumption of innocence, and you will actually get your victim narrative that you want. But the funny thing is, when you actually get your victim narrative, we won't care, because we will, by choice, make you a victim, and therefore you won't get any of these privileges at all. Either way, let me know down below. Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, as always, until next time, have a good one.